Hello. So I popped on live the other day because I wanted to chat about some stuff I saw in the news or, sorry, in research that I thought would be helpful to talk about. And I spoke about vitamin D. You guys had a lot of questions, and it seemed like a helpful thing. So I told you I would pop on again. And actually, I wanted to talk about something interesting that I saw in the news. So I'm on live streaming on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and I'm also on YouTube. So wherever you are, feel free to pop in with questions. But I wanted to talk about this article that I saw posted today. And it's called Pressure to Be Perfect Causing Burnout for Parents, Mental Health Concerns for Their Children. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this was not because I treat kids or pediatrics, but as a naturopathic doctor focused on women's health and hormones, the majority of my population is women with children. So a lot of those individuals have young children if they're in the same kind of age category as myself. So, this really related, and the discussion around burnout and a lot of the symptoms that my patients experience, hormonal imbalances, etc., often come down to burnout and life stress. So I just wanted to kind of go through this article and get your thoughts, questions, and concerns. So let's get started. So essentially, it says, is the status of a perfect parent attainable? Researchers leading a national dialogue about parental burnout from the Ohio State University College of Nursing and the university's Office of the Chief and Wellness Officer say no. And a new study finds that pressure to be perfect leads to unhealthy impacts on both parents and their children. And I think this is a really relevant topic in the day and age of social media and seeing everyone's, hacks and tips and tricks. And I think for me specifically, when I look on my social media, the biggest thing I find specifically that makes me feel inadequate as a parent. You don't know, my kids are 2 and 4. So if you're in, the same world as me, you get it. But the biggest thing that makes me feel inadequate as a parent is when I see people doing all these like enrichment activities. Maybe it's a Saturday morning and all I've managed to do is, get up, make myself coffee, make everybody breakfast. And I'm just trying to decompress, finish my coffee. My kids are playing in the playroom. And I see someone and it's like not even 8 a.m. and they've done some sort of, enrichment activity or sensory bin or whatever. And I think to myself, wow, I literally don't do that. I never do that. And so I often find myself, being like, should I be doing that? Should I be making enrichment activities for my children? And I think this article really points to that. Even Mary Poppins was only practically perfect. Yeah, you're totally right. And it's true. And so I just want to go through kind of what this article found, because I thought it was quite interesting. So it was a survey of more than 700 parents nationwide from June 15th to July 28th, 2023. And the data shows that this person keeps trying to join my live. So more than 700 parents, they found 57% of parents self-reported burnout. Parental burnout was strongly associated with internal and external expectations, including whether one feels they are a good parent, perceived judgment from others, time to play with their children, the relationship with their spouse, and keeping a clean house. I think a lot of times, keeping a clean house is something that is, on a lot of our minds. I often joke with a colleague of mine, like, we have never ending laundry. And I think, when we're looking at priorities and we're looking at a lot of the people that I work with are working moms. So not only just busy parents, but also working moms that maybe don't have time to do laundry during the time that their kids are at school, and then their kids come home and it's like dinner, bath, bed. It's like everything is crazy and they don't even have time for themselves. But I think there's a huge difference between a hygienic house and a hygienic space and a, messy space, right? And so, I think differentiating that is really important. I think normalizing the fact that, I have, six loads of laundry going at all times, like whether it's, washer, dryer, clean and ready to fold, etc. Because putting those expectations on ourselves is really just creating something that's too difficult to achieve. And again, we're only seeing the highlight reel when we see other people's Instagram. Something else I found interesting about this study is the more free play time that parents spend with their children and the lighter the load of structured extracurricular activities, the fewer mental health issues in their children. So less anxiety, depression, OCD, ADHD, and bipolar disorder. So I found this really interesting because, again, coming back to all of these things. I remember when Leo was, he had just turned 3 recently. And I thought, wow, I have to start getting him in sports. I have to get him in, soccer and baseball and hockey and skating and learn to skate and, karate and gymnastics and it swimming. And it felt really super overwhelming. So, I ended up the first summer, we really did nothing. I put him in soccer last year, and that was pretty much it. I put him in skating, like a learn to skate over the winter, which was pretty much it there. But I think also we can get overwhelmed with the extracurricular activities. And I see a lot of women who are like, yeah, my periods suck. My PMS is out of control. I can't sleep at night. And then I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing from day to day? And we're walking through their day and they don't actually get to bed till, 11:30 at night because they are at here and there and at extracurriculars and everything else. And, that's leading to their burnout. And it's one of those external things. And again, this study specifically is saying that, the more free play time that parents spend with their children and the lighter the load of structured extracurricular stuff actually leads to less mental health issues. Because I know a lot of people feel guilty for, and a lot of times like these sports are also expensive, right? So even looking at from like a budget perspective, what do we need to sign them up for? Do we need to, choose one thing a season? That might be the better move in that case. And the last thing was parents' mental health and behaviors strongly impact their children's mental health. If their children have a mental health disorder, parents report a higher level of burnout and a greater likelihood for them to insult, criticize, scream at, curse at, or physically harm their children, i.e., repeated spanking. Higher levels of self-reported parental burnout and harsh parenting practices are associated with more mental health problems in children, which, again, I think we can assume that. But the thing I found interesting was that, and again, it comes back to the, excuse me, the notion of putting on your own oxygen mask before putting on someone else's, right? Because you have to be able to breathe. And I think it's really important as parents, we reflect on, excuse me, the idea of really treating ourselves and treating our own mental health before we deal with everyone else. So questions, send me a message.